Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bunbun. This is our Death and Other Details Season 1, Episode 8 reaction and review. Guys, we're almost at the end of this. Like, episodes
Crazy.
9 and 10 are airing together, so, like, that's a big finale
hmm
event. And this is the build up. And oh my God, what a build up this is.
Did anybody else out there see that Catherine was going to end up dead? Because we sure didn't. We were thinking that maybe she was behind it all. There was so much smoke on this one, but here we are, dead, floating in the pool.
Here is my L. This is me eating my L that I have taken to a very dramatic degree. Listen, I am so happy to eat this L. I will sit down at a nice banquet table with a fancy suit and a red bib on. Like, I am chowing down because you know what? Catherine always felt so obvious. Catherine
Yes.
felt like, okay, it makes the most sense that Catherine would be Victor Sam's. Like, they even literally said it within this episode. And it's for that very reason I am pleased to be surprised. As long as you guys come up with an ending that makes sense, which I'm crossing my fingers.
All right, we're going to early put on our tinfoil hats
All right.
because it feels like in this episode, with her being dead now, and then there's like ricin in her room, and she ordered the wine, and like there's so much smoke around her that she's been killed off because she's going to be framed as Victor Sam's.
Okay, we have so much fascinating stuff to come up to in this video. I mean, including quite a discussion about Imogen's mother. So
Oh my goodness.
all right, before we get into any of that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. You know, we will be here through the rest of Death and Other Details. We don't want you guys to miss the ending. Let's hope it's great, and that's also a great way to help support us here at the channel.
Okay, let's talk about Kira, Imogen's mom, because there has been a theory that's been going around this whole time since the beginning that Imogen's mom is not actually dead and that she faked her death. And it is looking more and more like that might be the case. And here's some of the reasoning why. There's been a theory going around since Hilde showed up on the boat that Kira and Hilde are the same person. If they're not, these two actresses look so much alike, like it's uncanny, And if you go onto IMDb, which is a completely unreliable source, by the way, just so that everybody knows, because we've had a couple of comments being like, oh, if you look up, the actress that plays Kira is not listed anywhere. Okay, yeah, that is absolutely true. She is not listed on IMDb, but that could be for a whole bunch of reasons. I mean, it's sort of like a public submission how it works, like Wikipedia. It's not IMDb being like, oh, here's Death and Other Details, let's add everything in. The show is adding that to IMDb. The actors are doing that. So it's possible that the actress who's playing Kira doesn't have an IMDb page and there's nothing to link to. The actress who's playing Hilde is only listed as playing Hilde, nobody else. Now, that could be the show keeping this secret that these two are the same characters. If they put it on IMDb, then everybody knows. But here we're going to talk about one of our commenters here, Club ATX. Thank you so much for leaving this comment. They have left a beautiful theory connection to all of this of like how this could have all unfolded. So here we go.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the car and the blowing up and everything that happened. When we started in episode 7, the last episode at the beginning, where you see Imogen, Rufus, they roll up to the Collier house, and what's there? Cumberland linen supply truck. It's right there. And I didn't notice it. It just wasn't kind of anything while I was thinking about it. Okay, later, when Imogen is having sort of this like fever dream with Rufus and she's going through everything, she runs up to her mother's car before it blows up, and what's there? The truck. The truck is also there. That same truck was also during this whole sequence where she's like chasing down, a younger version of herself. And at one point she goes into this like crate inside the Collier's house. And where does she come out of? The laundry truck. It's the same thing. So this is not a coincidence. It's there for a reason. So my tinfoil hat theory,
All right.
everybody get them on,
I'm good.
is this. I don't think that Imogen's mother is dead. I'm really out here on the island with everybody else. I think that this was all set up. She got into that truck and she got away, and she has reinvented herself as Hilde, and that she's been trying to uncover everything that's going on with the poisoning at the Collier factories, and that just because what happened with Alexandra, where she was like, nah, you know what? It's not enough. I'm not going forward with it. That then she went back to Celia and was like, she's not going to help us, sort of thing. And we've seen in this episode that Celia got paid off for her husband being killed by them. And she took that $25,000 and created an empire. And as I had said in the last video, I thought she was going to be on a revenge tour to take apart Collier Mills, and she is. So is it possible that Kira and Celia came up with this plan where it's like, okay, you're going to go on the revenge tour this way. I'm going to need some help faking my death so that I'm able to work behind the scenes to actually pull this apart and find a way to pull this apart. Because if I don't, they're just going to have me like, I don't know if killed is really the way it's going to go, but it's just going to be like, she's not going to be able to get information as herself anymore. So that's what I think has happened.
This is all very, very fun. Like I am always for so-and-so fake their own death theories. Like this, I want to be entertained. Like this is always going to be entertaining to me.
The biggest issue that we're both having with this theory is just that so many people know what Kira looks like. And even though this is years later, these two actresses, if it's two actresses or if it's the same actress, they look the same. So Imogen is not going to recognize her mom. Neither Anna, nor Tripp, no Lawrence, nor the Kingmaker, nor Catherine, nor Llewellyn, who was in love with her. Nobody, or Celia Chun. Nobody's going to even be like, wow, man, you really look like my mom.
It's okay, there's one or two things happening here. Either this is like a total Clark Kent effect where it's just like, you know, you got the glasses on, you're not Superman. Nobody seems to be able to tell the difference.
You just put on this accent and all of a sudden it's like, who is this?
Yeah, it's either just like that or everybody has just like completely lost their minds on this ship for whatever reason. Like I can understand with certain characters, like, you know, if you're Tripp, if you're Anna, are you really going to be paying that close attention? But if you're Imogen, if you are somebody like Catherine, who, you know, was an adult at the time in which Kira was around, it's a really hard thing for me to buy that, like, they're not going to be able to tell that, oh, you look a lot like somebody, except now you have a questionable accent. It just feels like there needs to be some sort of, like, legitimate explanation as to how this could be possible, and also how Kira is able to evade Victor Sams, who has already been shown to be this like globe-trotting master of mystery and espionage and all these sort of things, that she was able to evade him for so long.
Yeah, it also then is like, okay, what's this call that Lawrence put in about her, right? That if it's like, we had this whole confrontation where Imogen was like, you killed my mother, sort of thing. And he's basically like, yes, but he also has onset dementia. So how much of it is what he remembers and how much of it is not what he remembers? Like he said, yeah, I made a call. It's like, okay, but did you make a call? Do you remember everything? It's hard to know, right?
Like, it could have been a situation where Lawrence was told that if X, Y, or Z happened, make a call. Like, he could be still acting on the behest of somebody else. And so the idea of, oh, I made a call, may be sort of just lost in interpretation, whether it be because he has early onset dementia or whether it be just because it was so long ago. And I think that's what makes all of this stuff so complicated. And it's also the idea of like, okay, sure, even if we're to say Lawrence is responsible for having Kira killed, if she is really killed, but like, even if that's the case, we still don't know who Victor Sams is. So it's just like, okay, this gets us somewhere. Doesn't get us everywhere. It's not like it's not waving a flag of answers in front of our face here or anything. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of a trip to Weird Town here because you know, the Kingmaker theory, as him being Victor Sams, is the one that at this point makes the most sense. It's the one that there's enough continuity for. I have been sort of dangling here and there this idea that what if Eleanor is Victor Sams, but also what if this is a situation where Victor Sams is a title that sort of gets passed down from one group to another, and that maybe Eleanor is not the original Victor Sams. Maybe she inherited this title. Maybe she studied under the tutelage of one Victor Sams, but now she in this role is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do things differently than however the original Victor Sams did it a long time ago, where there's something to this idea. Like you talked about how Celia is on a revenge tour and how she's trying to do everything that she can in order to destroy Collier Mills. Like there's this idea that what if Eleanor thinks that this is not enough? Like what if Eleanor thinks that, okay, I don't think what you're doing is going to be proper justice for everything that's happened. So I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that everything has happened. And so they don't get, blown up or taken apart in any other way. I'm just going to make this brutal. It's a little bit of a loose theory because it doesn't still, the killing of Danny is still a little bit weird in those eyes.
Yeah, the killing of Danny doesn't fit in with the rest of the people that have been killed, because the rest of the people that have been killed are all connected to the Collier family or in the Collier family that all have to do with the company and, or some sort of a connection. We've lost Llewellyn, who's the lawyer, and Alexandra, who's the governor, who's very much in bed with them because we've been through that.
Yeah.
It's just that now we've lost Catherine. Like everybody is very connected, but I will say, I really think that Catherine's death is a setup for her to just take the fall as Victor Sams. Like she's got, Llewellyn was poisoned with this bottle of wine that was sent by Catherine. And now it's like, and now there's ricin in her room. It's just, it's not Catherine. Like, and Catherine's dead. So where are we with this? She's got to be the fall person.
Okay, so there's two things here. First and foremost, the moment that ricin was mentioned,
I know it's Breaking Bad. We're all just down the Breaking Bad hole.
That was all I thought about at that point. I was just
it's forever.
It's never ricin. Sorry, you will no longer have any other purpose, which might be a good thing because ricin's a poison. But anyway, number two, the thing that I was kind of struggling with the most, and until I heard what you brought up about could this all be a setup, was just this idea of okay, if Catherine and Collier Mills are going to be just like taken down anyway, now that Celia has the controlling interest, like what's the point in killing her at this point? Like she's already going to get her just desserts anyway. It has to be a situation like you mentioned where the Victor Sams is a loose end that needs to be tied up, because unless that's tied up, nobody's going to be able to really move forward. And so getting rid of her at this point, if you can get enough information out there behind it, it feels smart, mostly because who is going to be able to disprove it? Like we've already talked about, Lawrence is not really going to be able to argue against it at this point. If the Kingmaker is Victor Sams, he's certainly not going to argue against it. Like Anna, she was a child when all of this started. So what's Anna going to be able to do in order to like thwart this? And given what we know about Catherine already, with her infidelity, with her secrets, with the forged signatures, like there's just enough smoke here to know that she is capable of something like this.
It was actually really interesting when it came up that Lawrence has onset early dementia, that I was like, okay, is she forging his signatures or is she like the power of attorney? And that's actually what's happening. But then if that's the case, he wouldn't have been able to sell his company without her signature. So that's not the case.
Yeah, there's so many different little complications with a lot of this still, because we don't know the timeline for everything. And the other thing I'm kind of continuously stuck on here is that going all the way back to the past year when Kira was, quote unquote killed, we never got like the idea out there that like this was the creation of Victor Sams, that this is like where Victor Sams was originated. So Victor Sams, in my view, was probably operating before this happened and was connected and powerful enough at that point in order to do some things. So obviously they have a vested interest in, at least at that point, making sure that this whole Kira situation is taken care of. But why did they do all this in the first place?
Maybe Kira's Victor Sams and it was like brought up at that time as like a
Oh man.
ruse
Oh man.
to hide that she's, she's been killed by Victor Sams, and now everyone's going to be chasing after this ghost that doesn't exist, so that they're not paying attention to Kira anymore because she's in the linen truck being driven off, and now she's this agent, and that Victor Sams is on the boat because it's Hilde.
Okay. This would be so unbelievably incredible in every single way. Just think about it. It's like, okay. So, Danny, maybe Victor Sams didn't want to kill Danny, but Danny was too close to the truth. And, this was something that would prove dangerous down the road. And the work of Victor Sams is too important. Every other person then, they're all people that Victor Sams wants some element of revenge on. If Hilde is an investigator, she's going to be able to cover everything up. Oh my God. Okay. Death and other details. Producers, please let this be true. I will lose my mind.
It would be such a cool reveal, because what has Victor Sams been doing this whole time? It seems that he has been holding secrets over the Colliers, so he knows about this secret. How does he know about this secret? Kira being the person who's actually Victor Sams, or created Victor Sams, so that, she can kind of like push everyone to be looking for the wrong person while she's getting away, and being able to then go forward and find a way to help take the Colliers down. It feels like to me that Celia probably knows everything that's going on, and I think she knows that Hilde is Kira.
I think so. I think
they're still working together. I think that both of them have a hand in Victor Sams.
I think the biggest sort of tell, if we're to sort of view the entire Death and Other Details like, that classic game Mafia we all played when we were kids, she's the calmest person.
Man, that's an old game.
It is an old game, but I always remember when I would play Mafia, it's like the people who were always the Mafia were always just kind of chill. Like, they didn't have anything to worry about because, they knew what was going on the whole time.
Well, listen, here's the other thing, is that if Kira is Victor Sams, she's going to need somebody to bankroll that, and that would be Celia. Celia's got the money. She's on a revenge tour. Kira's also really wants justice brought for what the Colliers were doing. I think for her, because I know there will probably be a lot of people that will feel like, how could she leave her daughter like that? How could she, traumatize her daughter like that? I think she just feels that she had a bigger purpose, and that she was like, listen, too many people are dying for this. I'm willing to sacrifice myself and what my joy with my daughter and helping raise her to be able to bring justice, and nobody's listening to me, so this is the only way I can do it.
I hope you have room on your bandwagon here for me to just jump on board, because it's just like, I still have a problem with the Clark Kent effect of all of this. Like, I do, but just the idea.
The show's all kind of fantastic.
It is all kind of fit, but it's just, this is just so good and so juicy. Like, this would be the best possible ending, in my opinion, for this show, based on what we have seen.
Okay, let's talk about the big reveal that Anna's father is not Lawrence, it is Llewellyn. Catherine! Llewellyn? Stop! Oh my goodness. Because, I was just like, I don't know about this reveal. Is this reveal really that important?
Okay,
especially since Llewellyn never knew. It's just like, what's really about the reveal? And for me, it felt like the real part about the reveal is that Toby the Kingmaker betrayed her and allowed that information to go to Celia Chun, because then we saw Catherine sort of storm out, and then all of a sudden she's dead.
Yeah, okay.
Toby's there for it.
Toby is there. This is why there's still possibilities, and they're all compelling, but okay. Llewellyn, okay, I'm about to do something that I never thought I would do so soon after Succession ended. Is Llewellyn my guy, Connor Roy? Think about it here. In the scene where he talks a lot about how he is unkillable, it reminded me a lot of Connor Roy being just like, I feed off of dead bugs, or whatever it was he said in that episode at the karaoke bar. And it's just like, I love Connor Roy so much. And maybe Llewellyn has wanted to be a lawyer from a very young age. And this is, but it feels like they do occupy kind of a similar space, and that Llewellyn is sort of like this sad character who's never really found a place, never really had that much of a life. He was so sad that he got roped into this relationship with Catherine, which clearly was not something he really should have been doing. It's not something Catherine should have been doing, but it happened. It puts Anna in this difficult, precarious situation now. But ultimately, regardless of who her father was, she doesn't have controlling interest now anyway. Like, it's a devastating reveal from a personal standpoint, but from a professional standpoint, you're kind of just stuck at this point, honestly.
Okay, let's talk about Kira again for a second with Llewellyn, because
Okay.
this all kind of just came together here, because we know that Llewellyn had this crush on her and asked her out a couple times, and she said no. And there was this weird scene where we saw Hilde go to Llewellyn's room and set him on fire. And I was just like, what is this scene? Like, why am I seeing this? Is this like some kind of like comic relief or whatever that's going on? But if this is Kira, then that's also part of the revenge tour. I mean, that's painful, man, like what she did to him.
Details matter.
Oh, right.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to say that with a straight face, but it does feel like you picked up some stuff in this episode.
Okay, let's talk about the man who showed up at the end of this episode. That this helicopter came in, he got off. It's the photographer that was following around Sunil and Imogene, the person who was this sort of, middle guy that was between Victor Sams and Sunil. It's this guy. He shows up. And what I found very interesting about it was that when he showed up, Anna was like, kind of like, oh, it's you. Like, she recognized him.
Well, there's this classic phrase, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I think that if, Victor Sams, regardless of who it is, like, it makes perfect sense that Victor Sams would want to have people that are sort of looped in or connected to the Collier family at all times. So it's easy for me to think that, okay, this guy was probably either an employee of the Collier Mills Company or like had some sort of direct association with them, trades with them, whatever, just to sort of establish that, okay, you know what? We're going to find out everything that happened from here. But let's just try really quick to just break down how this episode was clearly on something in the final few minutes of this. Because let's see, we have the big reveal as to what happened with Llewellyn.
Yeah.
This guy showing up with the helicopter, and then Hilda also being like, that is not my helicopter.
And Catherine's just floating in the pool.
Yeah, and then that's 3. Then 4, it looks like the ship may be blowing up at just about any given moment, which is probably the cliffhanger that somehow is the most shocking because everybody could die, and yet we haven't mentioned it like 25 minutes into this video.
Yeah, it's really that whole like the ship could blow up. I was like, why is this happening? And it feels like it's all connected, of course, to Victor Sams.
Yeah.
So you have Rufus said, and I've been saying since the beginning, Victor Sams, they're on this boat. They are absolutely on the boat. And now the middle guy has shown up to like deal with what is going on. All these people are dying. All this stuff is happening. Victor Sams is definitely on this boat. And the boat is his floating sort of navigation of his entire network is also on this boat. Now that he's cleaned up some of the problems, he or she has cleaned up the problems, Victor Sams needs to get rid of all the evidence and everyone who's on this boat. And I think that Victor Sams is basically like, hey, middle guy, you need to come here as well because you're also a loose end. Everybody get on this boat. We'll just get rid of the boat, everybody on it, and I'll just swim away in a dinghy. I'll float away in a dinghy.
Death and Other Dinghies.
That's
right. Going to be season 2. No, I'm even more excited about this finale after doing this video because it just feels like there's so much stuff that has been set up, and because there are 2 episodes left, it does feel like there's going to be enough time to pay all this sort of stuff up. I'll make this is not that bold a prediction, but I think we'll get closer to the Victor Sam storyline at the end of this season. I think we're gonna have kind of like an Only Murders in the Building kind of feel to this show where we'll get all the answers, and I think at the end of the finale, either somebody else will die and that will be a new mystery, or they're just going to like plant a couple of characters in a new place and kind of get us excited about what's coming up. Because clearly, I think they want to do another season of this.
Yeah, I want them to do another season. The show is great.
All right, well, that's what we got on Death and Other Details, Season 1, Episode 8. But be sure to hit that subscribe button for more coverage, including for the finale. You can also check out that card right there to watch our most recent review. Also, thank you to our patrons for your support, and you can join our Patreon and get some exclusive content just by clicking on that link in the description. And we'll see you guys here next time.